What's going on, everybody? I'm here to do a review for Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts is the second of 3 MCU films that are coming out in the year 2025. And I remember last year when they dropped the teaser for this movie, I said to myself, this was going to be a sleeper. Like, this is one that people are not going to try to take seriously, but it's going to end up being a film that people are going to end up talking about later on down the line, if not so much immediately. And then as time went on and more promos started to be developed and put out there, I realized I was right in my assessment when the teaser for this movie dropped last year. So basically, in a world where there's a line drawn in the sand between hero and villain, and it's often a blurred line, the Thunderbolts assembles a team of anti-heroes. Like, these are not necessarily good guys. Some of them could be straight up villains. Some of them are on that anti-hero part. They're not ones that you would deem like Avengers. Like, you're not gonna like Captain America or Iron Man or Thor, who are just straight up heroes. These are people who are on the cusp of villainy and trying to be a hero, but not necessarily. And they're each carrying, but the interesting thing about it is that each character is carrying their own burden and they're trying to seek redemption. And basically, they're bringing together a very diverse group of characters from previous MCU installments. I mean, you have characters coming from Black Widow. You have people coming, of course, from Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and from Ant-Man and the Wasp as well. I think those are the projects right there where all of the characters really come from, are those projects right there. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Black Widow, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And of course, Bucky, out of all of the characters, he's been around the longest because we've known about him since the first Captain America movie years ago. So he's the more seasoned person of the group. So the story actually begins with CIA Director Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, because she never stops allowing you to know that is her name, and that's how you pronounce her name, where she's orchestrating a mission that pits former allies who are Yelena, John Walker, Ghost, and Taskmaster against each other. And basically, if y'all don't know who Valentina is, she has been in Black Panther Wakanda Forever. She was at the end of Black Widow, and she's been in some other projects as well. Basically, she's about to be the new Nick Fury, but she's very shady. Like, she's not to be trusted whatsoever. And if you see the movie, and I'm not trying to spoil anything, then you'll see exactly why that is. She basically has some stuff going on. She's on trial. They want to arrest this woman so bad because they know she's shady, but they have to have the definitive proof in order to get her. And she does something, let's just say she does something that could have probably ended the movie in about 10 minutes. But luckily, fortunately, it did not go as planned. And realizing that the team has been set up by this woman, they end up forming an unexpected alliance that has ended up being led by Bucky Barnes, so they can end up confronting Valentina and basically unearth her hidden agenda. Their journey ends up leading them to a man named Bob, who is someone who has amnesia and also harbors very devastating power in the form of Sentry. And I'm gonna get to that when I do the character breakdown. And it's also, Sentry as being a godlike figure. And let me just tell you, what they had Sentry doing in this movie was absolutely crazy. But like I said, I will get to that point when we talk about Bob. So now that I've gone over the plot, let me go over the characters. First, of course, you have Yelena, who I said she's a former Black Widow. She's the sister of Natasha Romanoff. We first got introduced to her in Black Widow, and she is grappling with the loss of her sister, as well as other things. Like, she's been doing this ever since the end of the Black Widow movie. So we're doing current timeline. She's been doing it since 2021 or however long, maybe for 4 years now, and she's tired. She just wants to get out of it. She just wants to rest. She wants to just go ahead and do her own thing. And she's trying to figure out how in the world does she get away from Valentina from doing that. And basically she ends up telling Valentina, look, like, I'm done, like, I want out. And Valentina just basically tells her something like, okay, if you want to leave, you just do this one more mission and you can be done. And you always know it's never just one more. It's like a Pringle chip, you can't eat just one. So that's pretty much how her story sets up. The next person I want to talk about is Bucky Barnes, aka the Winter Soldier. As you all know, if you haven't seen by now, spoiler alert, it is what it is. Captain America Brave New World, he is now running, he's a congressman now, and he's basically a political figure. He's basically known by a lot of people. He doesn't do the Winter Soldier thing anymore. At least he keeps it under wraps. And it's not like people don't know who he is or know about his past, but I guess they just kind of brush it off. And he is there to basically keep tabs on Valentina. Valentina probably was unaware that that's what was going on, because the cover is him being the congressman, and I guess he's also running for another political position, but he is now there to serve as a person who is keeping eyes on Valentina, but eventually he's going to end up also becoming a part of the team, unbeknownst to him, and probably against his own better judgment, and what also leads to him being the leader of the team. The next person I want to talk about is John Walker, aka U.S. Agent. We first got introduced to him in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. He basically is the Temu version of Captain America. He took the super soldier serum, so he has the same abilities as Cap, but he's also a very unorthodox individual. Like, he's not the goody two shoes of Captain America. Not to say Cap is like that, because Cap has moments when he has gone against the government, but if you watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier, John Walker killed an innocent man. Like, he killed an innocent person. Like, this guy is not good, and he's very off the rails, while planting a seed in his own mind, if you want to go there and say that he is a good person or that he is a hero. And he never misses a moment or an opportunity to let people know that he is the current Captain America, even though many people don't see him in that form or fashion, only himself. The next person on the team I wanted to talk about is Ghost. She was introduced in Ant-Man and the Wasp, and she basically has the ability where she can disappear, she can teleport. She has a very dope ability. I think in Ant-Man and the Wasp, because a lot of people didn't really care for her character because they felt like she was not fully developed, and she really wasn't. I guess that's because that's when she was starting to really first use her powers. But now in this movie, she has full control of her abilities, and she has a very dope power. She can disappear, she can be invisible, she can maneuver, and I think she said she can use it for like up to a minute before something ends up happening. So it's also realism there that she has to know exactly where she's going when she's teleported. She just can't go somewhere and not know where it is that she's going, or otherwise, like Nightcrawler said in X2, might end up in a wall somewhere. But she definitely has a good abilities, good fighting styles. She uses a gun, she has knives and all types of things at her arsenal, and she does serve a good purpose to the team and in this film. Next up, I want to talk about Red Guardian. Red Guardian, we first got introduced to him in Black Widow. He is the father to Yelena and to Natasha, and he is also a super soldier. He was there under their Russian program, and he too, like John Walker and Captain America, and I'm talking about Steve Rogers, and even Bucky, because he has the super soldier serum as well. He has full strength ability. He is definitely the comedic relief of the team. He's a comedic relief of this movie. If you've seen Black Widow, he was a comedic relief in there too. He's a person that doesn't really like to take himself too seriously, but he just wants to be a part of the team. He wants to be a part of something. He's the only one out of this group that I'm talking about that is not attached to Valentina in any type of way. Like, he's not a part of her organization or anything like that, but he just comes in on the strength of Yelena, even though she doesn't want him to do it, or she doesn't necessarily want him there, because they don't have the best father-daughter relationship, and that was kind of touched on in Black Widow. And I like that in this movie they had a serious moment between him and Yelena, and it was actually a moment, I'm not even gonna lie, it almost got me. That part right there was one of the emotional parts of the movie, where Yelena and Red Guardian have this discussion about him being a good father or her being a good person, and how he doesn't care about all of the stuff that she did. He's still going to love her regardless. So that was a very good pivotal moment and good acting between both actors. Very good. I really did enjoy that part of the movie. Next up, let's just Taskmaster. This is going to be short. If anybody had any kind of hunch that Taskmaster was not gonna get far in this movie, your hunch would be 1,000% correct. I mean, what can I say? Taskmaster got introduced in Black Widow. They have the ability to mimic another person's moves, and I think what's crazy about it, I think a lot of people didn't really care for Taskmaster that much, so that's probably how they played on, okay, we're not going to keep this person too long in the movie. But what's crazy is what the little bit that they had Taskmaster do, because Taskmaster, I kid you not, was only in the movie for like a good 5, not even 10 minutes. what they did, and that's not really so much a spoiler, because if you look at the trailers and the promos, like, you can kind of guess for yourself that they weren't going to be around very long. But with what they did have them do, with the little bit of fighting that they did have, it would have been interesting to see if what would happen if they would have kept the character around even longer, because the fighting style actually was more improved than it was in Black Widow, in my honest opinion. But it is what it is. RIP Taskmaster. And the last person I want to talk about, and probably one of the most intricate parts of this story, of this movie, is Bob, aka Sentry. So Bob is basically the entire newcomer. Like, this is his first appearance. He's never been in any other MCU film or television project. And basically, Bob is an individual that signed up for what was called the Sentry Project, in which they were experimenting on people to basically create these superhumans, these godlike figures. And every project, like most do, was a fail, but they ended up coming across one that ended up working. And I think it's probably because he got released from his, I guess you can say I don't want to say his coffin, his encapsulation device early. And that's probably why it didn't take him out, or maybe he was just strong enough to survive it. And let me tell you, Sentry Bob is a problem, especially because of all the things that he's gone through. I mean, this individual has gone through abuse, both physical, verbally, and narcotics wise. I believe he has a multiple or dual personality. Like, he has a lot. Imagine having all of that going on and you turn into this godlike figure. Like, that's not a good combination. But I like how they did Sentry, and I'm looking like, how in the world are they going to defeat this? I don't know how they're going to manage to pull this off, but if you watch the movie, something did occur in order for that to happen. And while I'm on the subject of Bob, let me just briefly talk about the Void. The Void is basically a creation all in Bob's mind when he becomes Sentry, or when he goes to the dark form of Sentry. And the effect that they used for that was amazing because of how horrific, and not in a bad way, but how horrifying, rather, I should say, it looked. I mean, imagine you're just going around and all of a sudden everything starts to turn black in this smoky kind of figure, and you're just casually walking, and all of a sudden you get sent to this dimension. Basically, the Void sends you to a dark place in your psyche that you pretty much locked away, but it finds a way to unlock itself when you get sent there, and all you're doing is trying to get out. It's almost like being stuck in your own personal limbo, where a bunch of unnatural things are happening, but these are things that have happened in your life that you've been trying to lock and tuck away. It would basically pick away at you. But the thing is, because Bob is such a conflicted character and he's constantly battling with inner demons himself, imagine someone being in control of something like that while having other people there, and the only way that you can stop it is by basically having Bob pull himself out of his own void, out of his own creation. Like, that's scary enough as it sounds, as it was visually to see in the movie itself. One thing that I did like about this movie is that it didn't focus too much on this action like a lot of MCU movies tend to do. It actually also explored the theme of trauma, redemption arcs, and the complexity of human nature as a whole. It wasn't your cookie cutter type of film. Some parts of it was cookie cutter, but there were also some parts that was kind of deep at the same time, like why they actually kind of went there a little bit and touched on these things. Because while all of these characters that I just went over came from various different places, they all relatively dealt with trauma, redemption arcs, and the complexity of human nature. That was the thing that was the glue that kind of, I guess you could say, brought them together. They all experienced different levels of trauma and all types of stuff like that, but they experienced trauma nonetheless. And also, the movie balances high action with emotional depth while allowing the audience to connect with the characters who are far from perfect. Like, they're not perfect at all. And I think many people will probably gauge that, looking at the stuff that they were in before this. But they also strive to be something greater. Whether on incident or on accident, they find a way to end up pulling that off. In my honest opinion, the ThunderBolts is a very great addition to the MCU. It offers a fresh perspective on what it means to also be a hero. Like, you don't have to be the nice guy or the goody two shoes type of person. You can have ridges. You don't have to be smooth edge. You can mess up, you can screw up and still manage to save the day in some form or fashion. And I think that with the engaging storyline, the complex characters, and the thought-provoking themes, that the movie, or the Thunderbolts, is going to set the stage or the foundation for the next chapter of the MCU. Now, I'm not going to tell you what happened as far as post credits, but just know that there is a mid-credit scene, which is more for laughs. I guess you could say it's more for laughs, but the post-credit scene definitely sets up the future of the MCU rather sooner than later. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments. Is the Thunderbolts a movie that is a film that you plan to go see, or will you wait for it to come on Disney Plus or whatever the case may be? Y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments, and I will talk to you in the next one.